I was there when we made the greatest mistake in galactic history. My name is Vrek, and I served as tactical observer aboard the Kaltharian warship Endless Virtue. What I witnessed that day would reshape every military doctrine across 47 star systems. It started as routine suppression. Earth had been resisting our annexation for 3 months, stubborn little creatures that they were. Their fleet? Destroyed in the first week. Their orbital platforms? Reduced to scrap metal. We controlled their skies, their satellites, their communications grid. Standard procedure called for strategic strikes on industrial centers until they surrendered. Commander Thral was not known for his patience. Target identified, announced our weapons officer, a four-eyed Brennix named Kalthar. Coordinates locked. Structure appears to be a residential facility in their northern continent settlement, designation Quebec City. Thral barely glanced at the tactical display. Population density? Minimal. 73 life signs. Minimal military value, but centrally located. The psychological impact should accelerate their capitulation. See, here's where I should have said something. Anything. But I was a junior observer, barely 2 cycles out of the academy, and who questions a decorated commander? So I kept my mandibles shut and watched the targeting solution finalize. The plasma lance fired at exactly 1400 hours, station time. Direct hit. Clean. Efficient. The building vaporized in 3 seconds flat. We did not even wait to confirm the kill. Thral was already selecting the next target when our communications array exploded with activity. Sir. Kalthar's eyes widened. All 4 of them. We are receiving. I cannot count them all. Hundreds of transmission sources. Thousands. They are broadcasting on every frequency. Jamming. Thral leaned forward. No, sir. They want us to hear this. The main view screen flickered to life, and I saw her for the first time. A human female, middle-aged by their standards, wearing their military uniform. Her face was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that precedes volcanic eruptions. "Attention Kaltharian fleet," she said, and her voice carried the weight of glaciers grinding continents to dust. "I am Admiral Rebecca Watts, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Earth Defense Coalition. Approximately 7 minutes ago, you destroyed the Maple Grove Children's Home. 73 casualties. All children, ages 4 to 16. Thral's neck ridges flared purple. Confused. They're young? That was a military installation, surely. You just killed 73 orphans, Admiral Watts continued. And now something flickered behind her eyes. Something that made my blood run cold despite the climate controls. Children who had already lost their parents to your previous strikes. You bombed an orphanage. Congratulations. The communication cut off. For maybe 15 seconds, nobody spoke. Then Thral, attempting to recover his authority, barked out, "Irrelevant. Continue target selection. Next coordinates." He never finished that sentence. Every sensor on the ship screamed at once. Proximity alerts. Weapons lock warnings. Energy spike detections. I pulled up the tactical display and felt my digestive sac clench. Earth's remaining population, approximately 4 billion sentients, had just activated every piece of military hardware they had left. And I mean everything. Civilian spacecraft retrofitted with mining explosives. Orbital construction equipment converted into kinetic weapons. Defense satellites we thought were destroyed suddenly coming back online because apparently humans are really good at playing dead. But that was not the terrifying part. The terrifying part was the transmission that hit every ship in our fleet simultaneously. No encryption, no security protocols, just raw, undiluted human rage compressed into data packets. "New rules," Admiral Watts said, and this time she was smiling. Not a happy smile, not even an angry smile. This was the smile of someone who had just stopped pretending to care about consequences. "You want total war? Fine. But understand something about humans. We invented total war. We perfected it on ourselves for 10,000 years before you showed up. We had a whole category of laws, the Geneva Conventions, specifically designed to limit how horrible we were allowed to be to each other during combat. You know why we needed those laws." Thral was frantically issuing evasion orders as our fleet scattered, trying to avoid the incoming swarm of weaponized everything. Because without them, we scared ourselves. Watts continued. So we made rules. We agreed to limits. We promised each other we would never, ever go back to doing war the old way. The total way. The way our ancestors did it. 3 of our escort frigates vanished in simultaneous explosions. Civilian transports, loaded with nuclear reactors set to overload, had rammed them at maximum velocity. You just broke our rules, What said softly. So now there are no rules. That is when the first reports came in from our ground forces. Human civilians, unarmed, walking directly into our troops. We thought they were surrendering, right up until they detonated the explosives strapped to their bodies. Every single one. Thral's face had gone completely pale, his skin shifting from purple to gray. Fall back. All units. Full retreat to jump coordinates. Oh no. What's interrupted, because apparently they had hacked our communications too. You are not leaving. On the view screen behind her, I could see it. 300 human vessels, everything from military cruisers to cargo haulers, all heading directly toward our fleet in an intercept pattern. Not firing, not maneuvering, just flying straight at us, engines burning at maximum. Every single one was going to ram. You wanted to teach Earth a lesson about resistance, Admiral Watts said, and her smile had vanished entirely. Now we are going to teach you about consequences. Welcome to Total War. Human style. The first impact shook our ship so hard I was thrown across the observation deck. We were still trying to flee when the second wave hit. The Endless Virtue lost main power 17 seconds after the ramming attacks began. Emergency lighting painted everything in sick green hues while Thral screamed orders that nobody could execute because our propulsion systems were dead, our weapons grid was offline, and our shield generators had melted into expensive slag. I dragged myself to a functioning console and pulled up what remained of our fleet status. It was not good. 12 ships destroyed outright. 8 more crippled like us, drifting in decaying orbits. The humans had sacrificed maybe 40 vessels in those suicide runs, and somehow, impossibly, they were still coming. More ships, more improvised weapons, more of that terrifying human determination that does not understand the concept of acceptable losses. Distress beacon. Thral gurgled, his translator struggling with whatever noises he was making. Send for reinforcements. The 7th Fleet, the already tried, sir, Kalthar reported, 2 of his eyes now swollen shut from impact trauma. They are jamming our long-range communications. We cannot transmit beyond the orbital sphere. A new transmission crackled through our emergency channels. Different human this time. Male. Older. Wearing what I would later learn was a simple pressure suit covered in burns and scorch marks. Kaltharian vessels. This is Captain Liu Zhao, commanding the cargo hauler Persistence. I am 73 years old. Lost my daughter in your first strike on Beijing. My son in the second. My grandchildren were at Maple Grove. His face filled the screen, and I saw something there that made my species' evolutionary fight-or-flight response scream flee. Flee, FLE. I am currently piloting 6,000 tons of refined titanium, or at 400 meters per second directly toward your command ship, he said conversationally, like discussing weather patterns. My cargo hold contains 17 improvised nuclear devices assembled from civilian reactor components. They are extremely unstable. The impact alone will probably set them off. Thral was making noises I had never heard before. You cannot. This is insane. You will die. Yes, Captain Liu agreed pleasantly. That is rather the point. See, you killed children. Our children. So now we are going to kill all of you, and we are going to use every single thing we have to do it. Our ships. Our satellites. Our bodies. Whatever it takes. This is not warfare. Thral shrieked. This violates every civilized standard of combat. You are savages. Captain Liu's expression did not change. You started this conversation by bombing an orphanage. You do not get to lecture us about civilization. Impact in 40 seconds, announced our computer helpfully. I should have been terrified. And I was. But I was also watching something unprecedented unfold across the tactical display. The entire human species had transformed into a weapon. Every person, every resource, every scrap of metal and wire, an explosive compound. They were not fighting to win anymore. They were fighting to make absolutely certain we would never, ever attack another species' children again. Please, Thral whispered, all his arrogance evaporated. We surrender. Full unconditional surrender. Just stop. The transmission from Captain Liu cut off. 20 seconds to impact. Then Admiral Watts appeared again, and this time her face was carved from stone. Surrender received and acknowledged. Captain Liu, abort your attack run. The cargo hauler veered off, missing us by maybe 300 meters. Close enough that our hull sensors registered the heat from his engines. Your surrender is accepted. What's continued? And her voice could have frozen stars. Here are your terms. Every Kaltharian vessel will immediately power down all weapons and propulsion systems. You will deploy emergency beacons. You will wait for our boarding parties. You will be taken to detention facilities where you will remain until a war crimes tribunal can be convened. War crimes. Thral sputtered. We are the victims here. You attacked us with. You bombed an orphanage. What's interrupted? And her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more threat than any scream. You do not get to be the victim. Ever. Are we clear? Silence filled the bridge. Then Thral, defeated, signaled compliance. The next 6 hours were humiliating. Human soldiers, half of them civilian volunteers barely trained in boarding procedures, took control of our ships. They were professional, efficient, and utterly, completely unmoved by any attempts at explanation or justification. A young human male, maybe 20 standard years, supervised my detention. His uniform was improvised, his weapon was a retrofitted mining tool, and his eyes were red from crying. My sister was at Maple Grove, he told me quietly while securing my restraints. She was 9, loved drawing pictures of stars and aliens. Thought maybe someday she would visit other worlds, meet other species, make friends. I did not know what to say. There was nothing to say. You want to know the really messed up part? He continued, checking my bindings with mechanical precision. We actually wanted to join your galactic council. Humanity was excited. We were ready to be part of something bigger. And you just killed kids. 3 months later, I testified at the tribunal. Told them everything. How casual the target selection was. How little we cared about verifying civilian status. How Commander Thral had chosen the orphanage specifically for its psychological impact. The Galactic Council's response was swift and absolute. Kalthar was expelled. Reparations were levied. New protocols were established for engagement with developing species. And humans, despite being the newest members, suddenly had a seat at every military planning session. Because everyone had learned the same lesson. You can fight humans. You can beat them, even. But if you target their children, if you cross that one specific line, they will introduce you to a type of warfare that makes your species' nightmares look like pleasant daydreams. They will use everything. Sacrifice anything. And they will not stop until you are broken or they are dead. Total war. Human style. I retired from military service the day after my testimony. Took up xenosociology instead, studying why species do what they do. And I have spent the last decade trying to understand humanity's capacity for both extraordinary kindness and absolutely terrifying violence. Best I can figure, they really meant those rules they made for themselves. The Geneva Conventions, the laws of war, the agreements about protecting civilians and children and medical personnel. They made those rules not because they were weak, but because they knew exactly how strong they could be, how dark they could go, how total their warfare could become. And we made them break their own rules. That orphanage bombing, it did not just kill 73 children. It killed humanity's willingness to fight nicely, to limit themselves, to hold back. Captain Liu Zhao survived the war. Last I heard, he had retired to a small farm in what used to be Quebec. Grows vegetables now. Peaceful life. But I have seen his interviews, and every single one ends the same way. Touch our kids again, he says, smiling that terrible human smile. And we will show you what we are really capable of. Nobody has tested that threat. Nobody ever will. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.